By the 80s and 90s, Italian horror had evolved from stylish Giallo into something wilder and more unhinged. Lucio Fulci unleashed supernatural gore that made hell literal and rotting. Lamberto Bava brought demonic chaos to movie theaters and ancient churches. The zombie film became Italian export, trading Romero's social commentary for extreme makeup effects and nightmare logic. This era of Italian horror embraced excess without apology. Demon possessions in screening rooms, zombies rising from Spanish graveyards, and reality itself becoming unstable. The films got stranger, gorier, and more willing to abandon narrative coherence in favor of pure visceral impact. Video store shelves, filled with lurid cover art, promising experiences that mainstream horror wouldn't dare attempt. Tonight we're diving into 10 films that represent Italian horror's supernatural chaos. From Fulci's Gates of Hell to Soavi's demon-infested architecture, from post-apocalyptic rat attacks to cemetery caretakers fighting the undead, these are films that prioritize atmosphere and spectacle over sense, where practical effects wizards became the true auteurs. The Beyond, 1981. Lucio Fulci's masterpiece of metaphysical horror takes us to a Louisiana hotel built over one of the seven gates of hell. When Liza inherits the Seven Doors Hotel, she unknowingly inherits a legacy of supernatural violence that blurs the lines between our world and the next. As reality begins to unravel, she discovers that sometimes the gateway to hell is a fixer-upper with really bad plumbing. What makes The Beyond unique is its dreamlike approach to horror. Fulci abandons traditional narrative logic for a series of increasingly surreal sequences where cause and effect become meaningless. The hotel exists in multiple times and spaces at once, where opening a door might lead you to a flooded basement, a Gothic library, or directly into hell itself. The film's violence is both extreme and artistic. Each death scene is choreographed like a grotesque ballet, with Fulci's infamous eye trauma fetish taken to new heights. But these aren't just shock moments. They're part of a larger tapestry where the human body itself becomes unreliable, subject to supernatural forces that treat flesh like clay. Katrina McCall brings a grounded presence to Liza, serving as our anchor in a world gone mad. Her performance helps sell the gradual dissolution of reality, as she moves from practical concerns about hotel renovation to cosmic horror about the nature of existence itself. David Warbeck's Dr. Macabre provides the voice of skeptical reason, until reason itself becomes another casualty. The real star might be the atmosphere. Fulci and cinematographer Sergio Salvati create a thick, humid mood where even daylight scenes feel somehow wrong. The hotel's architecture becomes increasingly impossible, while Fabio Frizzi's haunting score emphasizes the spiritual rot beneath the surface. The Beyond isn't interested in explaining its mysteries. Instead, it presents horror as a form of dark poetry, where logic gives way to nightmare, and even death might not be an escape from the horrors that await beyond the seven doors. Zombie, 1979. Lucio Fulci's Zombie, released as Zombie 2 in Italy to capitalize on Dawn of the Dead, is Italian gore cinema at its most uncompromising. A woman searches for her missing father on a Caribbean island and discovers it's overrun by the walking dead. Not Romero's social commentary zombies, but rotting corpses driven by pure hunger. What follows is relentless, graphic horror, where Fulci's camera lingers on decomposition, violence, and the breakdown of flesh. The film's most infamous sequence remains the splinter through the eyeball scene, excruciating, prolonged, and shot with medical precision that makes it genuinely difficult to watch. It's exploitation filmmaking that pushes past entertainment into something more punishing and visceral. The zombie makeup effects by Giannetto de Rossi are spectacularly grotesque. Worm-eaten corpses with exposed bone and rotting flesh that look genuinely decomposed. The underwater zombie versus shark sequence is practical effects madness. A real shark fighting a stuntman in zombie makeup that's as bizarre as it is impressively achieved. Fabio Frizzi's score adds dreamlike atmosphere that contrasts with the graphic violence. Tisa Farrow and Ian McCulloch play the investigators with appropriate seriousness, providing human anchor amid the carnage. Richard Johnson brings Shakespearean gravitas as the Doctor fighting a losing battle against the outbreak. The tropical setting provides beautiful locations that Fulci fills with decay and horror. Zombie represents Italian horror's willingness to prioritize visceral impact over narrative coherence, creating an experience that assaults rather than entertains. It's Fulci's most famous work outside the Beyond, a film that proved Gore could be both art and endurance test. Demons 2, 1986. Demons 2 picks up the chaotic, blood-soaked energy of Lamberto Bava's original, taking the horror from a movie theater to the confined, tense environment of a high-rise apartment building. Released in 1986, this sequel continues to explore the terrifying effects of demonic possession, while adding a clever meta-twist that sets it apart from its predecessor. The story centers on Sally, a young girl who is innocently watching a screening of the first Demons movie on television. But as the familiar horrors play out on screen, reality begins to warp. The demonic forces from the film seem to seep into the real world, turning the residents of the building into possessed killers. What starts as a birthday celebration quickly spirals into a frantic fight for survival. Bava's direction keeps the pace relentless. The film is packed with practical effects that are both gruesome and inventive, from horrifying transformations to chaotic, claustrophobic sequences as the demons stalk the narrow hallways. The heavy metal soundtrack drives the tension, creating an electrifying atmosphere that keeps viewers on edge throughout. Beyond the gore, Demons 2 plays with the idea of media influencing reality. Watching horror on a screen becomes deadly, blurring the line between fiction and real-life terror. This concept adds a clever layer to the film, giving it a thought-provoking edge amid the carnage. The performances, particularly by the young actress playing Sally, add a sense of vulnerability that contrasts with the over-the-top madness around her. Each character faces their own nightmare, and the combination of dark humor and relentless horror keeps the film unpredictable and engaging. While it wasn't universally praised upon release, the film has gained a devoted following over the years, celebrated for its inventive kills, memorable sequences, and energetic style. It's a wild, relentless ride that embodies the best of 1980s Italian horror. By the time it ends, viewers are left both exhilarated and unnerved, a testament to Bava's ability to mix inventive visuals, frantic pacing, and supernatural terror into a uniquely unforgettable experience. The Church, also known as La Chiesa, 1989. Centuries ago, a mass execution of supposed witches left their bodies buried beneath a cathedral. In the present day, restorers uncover the site, unknowingly unleashing the evil that was sealed away. As the cathedral's heavy doors mysteriously lock, priests, scholars, and tourists are trapped inside, forced to confront visions, possessions, and a demonic force determined to reclaim their souls. Directed by Michele Soavi and produced by Dario Argento, The Church is a standout example of Italian Gothic horror in the late 80s. It features a cast that includes Asia Argento in one of her early roles, Thomas Arana as the archaeologist, and Hugh Quarshie as a priest struggling to contain the chaos. Their performances anchor the film as the surreal nightmare unfolds. The visuals are the film's greatest strength. Soavi fills the cathedral with shadowy corridors, grand stained-glass windows, and cavernous spaces that seem alive with menace. Practical effects deliver grotesque transformations and hallucinations, blending religious imagery with graphic horror. The result is part haunted house, part apocalyptic vision. Adding to the atmosphere is the unforgettable soundtrack. A mix of compositions by Keith Emerson, Philip Glass, and Goblin gives the film a soundscape that's eerie, powerful, and sometimes otherworldly. The music turns the cathedral into its own character, oppressive, mysterious, and terrifying. While often overshadowed by Dario Argento's more famous works, The Church stands tall as Soavi's vision of Gothic dread. It's operatic, visually stunning, and filled with moments that linger long after the credits. For fans of Italian horror, The Church is a reminder that the late 80s still had the power to conjure something grand, grotesque, and unforgettable. The Sect, 1991, after Demons and the Church, director Michele Soavi returned with The Sect, a moody, nightmarish horror film produced and co-written by Dario Argento. Released in 1991, it's sometimes known by its alternate title, The Devil's Daughter, and it carries that unmistakable Italian blend of dream logic, religious imagery, and creeping dread. The film follows Miriam, a quiet schoolteacher living in rural Germany, who accidentally gets tangled up with a secret satanic cult. After a strange old man collapses near her home, she brings him inside to help, only to discover that he's part of something ancient and horrifying. From that moment, Miriam's life unravels into surreal visions, demonic rituals, and a fate tied directly to the rebirth of evil itself. The Sect moves like a waking nightmare. Every scene feels slightly off. Doors creak too long, shadows linger too deep, and even everyday sounds feel wrong. Soavi fills the frame with religious symbols, animal imagery, and mysterious machinery, turning a simple possession story into a surreal descent into madness. Kelly Curtis, Jamie Lee Curtis's sister, gives a genuinely strong performance as Miriam, grounding all the surrealism with real emotion. Herbert Lom, best known for the Pink Panther films, appears as the sinister old man whose presence haunts every corner of the film. What really sets The Sect apart is its atmosphere. It's not about jump scares, it's about slow, inescapable corruption. The cinematography is drenched in blues and candlelight, and the final act feels like a fever dream that refuses to end. While it never got the same attention as Soavi's other work, The Sect might be his most underrated film. It's cryptic, unsettling, and strangely beautiful, an occult nightmare that sits comfortably between art film and VHS horror. Cemetery Man, 1994. Cemetery Man, also known by its original title Delamore to Delamore, is one of the strangest and most stylish horror films of the 90s. Directed by Michele Soavi in 1994, it blends Gothic atmosphere, surreal humor, and bursts of graphic horror into something that feels equal parts art film and midnight movie. Rupert Everett stars as Francesco della Morte, the caretaker of a cemetery where the dead don't stay buried. Within 7 days, they rise again, and it's his job to put them back down, usually with a gunshot or a shovel to the head. His only companion is Nagi, a simple-minded assistant who says little but proves unexpectedly loyal. At first, it plays like a quirky zombie tale, but the film quickly becomes more surreal. Delamort falls in love with a mysterious widow who seems to die and return in different guises, each time reshaping his obsession. The boundaries between life and death blur, dreams and reality overlap, and the story drifts into territory that feels mythic, poetic, and deeply unsettling. The film is visually stunning, drenched in Gothic imagery. Fog-draped graveyards, candlelit chambers, and decaying corpses that are equal parts grotesque and beautiful. Soavi uses these elements not just for scares, but to build a meditation on love, mortality, and the absurdity of existence. Cemetery Man is often described as one of the last great Italian horror films, carrying forward the legacy of directors like Dario Argento and Lucio Fulci while carving out its own unique identity. It's darkly funny, grotesque, and oddly romantic, leaving viewers unsure whether they've just watched a zombie film, a love story, or a surreal existential nightmare. More than a cult classic, it's a reminder of how wild and unpredictable the VHS era could get, where even a movie about re-killing the dead could transform into something haunting, absurd, and unforgettable. The Chosen, also known as Holocaust 2000, 1977, power plants promise progress, until an industrialist learns his global project might be the blueprint for something apocalyptic. Each new accident feels less like chance and more like design. Prophecies start lining up with modern headlines, and a father begins to wonder if the heir to his empire is destined for something far darker. This is slick, international, occult thriller territory. jets, boardrooms, desert construction sites, and cathedrals full of warnings he'd rather ignore. The tension comes from confidence cracking. Watching a man who thinks he controls everything realize he may be a piece on someone else's board. The film balances political intrigue with supernatural dread, letting symbols and coincidences stack until denial is no longer possible. Performances carry that corporate gravitas turned brittle. The sun's calm is as alarming as any omen. Direction favors glossy surfaces punctured by moments of brutality or revelation. Modern architecture doubles as ritual geometry, suggesting the future can be corrupted long before it arrives. It plays like a cautionary tale about hubris dressed in sensational clothing, the idea that the end could be built with contracts and steel, right on schedule. When the final choices present themselves, they don't look like heroics. They look like damage control in a world already tipped. A Blade in the Dark, 1983, Bruno, a young composer, takes up residence in a secluded villa to write the score for a horror film. At first, the isolation seems ideal, but the villa holds secrets of its own. One by one, people around him are brutally murdered, each death tied to the house's hidden past. With every discovery, Bruno realizes he's trapped inside a real-life horror story, with a killer who could be watching his every move. Directed by Lamberto Bava, A Blade in the Dark pushes the Italian Giallo tradition into bloodier territory, blending mystery with explicit slasher violence. Andrea Occhipinti stars as Bruno, whose growing paranoia mirrors the audience's, while Valeria Cavalli and Stanko Molnar appear among the colorful cast of potential victims and suspects. What makes the film stand out is its stylization. The villa's twisting staircases, shadowy corners, and blood-red lighting create an almost theatrical space for the murders to unfold. The kills are drawn out and vicious, each one filmed with an unflinching eye that lingers on the brutality. By 1983, Giallo was evolving, and Bava's film embraced the changing landscape, combining the elegance of the genre with the graphic intensity that slasher fans craved. On VHS, its lurid title and shocking cover art made it a must-rent, rewarding viewers, with a story that blurred the line between cinema and reality. Today it remains one of the more notorious examples of late-era Giallo excess, part mystery, part nightmare, and entirely unforgettable. Rats, Night of Terror, 1984. 100 years after nuclear war has devastated the Earth, scattered survivors roam the wastelands in search of shelter. A gang of scavengers stumbles upon what looks like salvation, an abandoned scientific facility stocked with supplies. But their relief turns to horror when they discover the place already has occupants. Swarms of hungry, mutated rats that are faster, smarter, and far deadlier than they imagined. Directed by Bruno Mattei under one of his many pseudonyms, the film embodies his trademark blend of pulp and shock. Ottaviano Dell'Acqua and Massimo Vanni lead the cast of hardened survivors, their bravado quickly crumbling as the rats tighten their grip on the group. The production leans heavily on sheer numbers, dozens of writhing, squealing rodents flooding rooms, climbing bodies, and swarming victims in ways that feel chaotic and relentless. The set pieces are outrageous, from grisly attacks in dark corridors to close-up shots of teeth sinking in. Mattei keeps the pace fast and brutal, pushing every scene toward excess. And just when the film seems to have gone as far as it can, it delivers an ending so bizarre and audacious that it redefines the phrase last-minute twist. What gives Rats, Night of Terror its staying power is its sheer audacity. It is unapologetic, wild, and gleefully over the top, a post-apocalyptic nightmare that doesn't hold back. For fans of Italian exploitation cinema, it remains one of the most infamous and unforgettable entries of the era. Aenigma, 1987. At an exclusive girls' school in Boston, a shy student named Kathy becomes the target of cruel bullying that ends in tragedy. But her story doesn't end there. Left comatose in a hospital, Kathy's mind reaches out for revenge, channeling her rage through a new student who suddenly arrives on campus. What follows is a series of bizarre and gruesome deaths, each one stranger than the last. Directed by Italian horror master Lucio Fulci, Enigma blends supernatural revenge with surreal imagery. The cast includes Lara Lamberti as Ava, the unsuspecting conduit for Kathy's spirit, while Jared Martin brings authority as the Doctor, trying to unravel the mystery. Their performances anchor the film's wild mix of Gothic atmosphere and exploitation shocks. The deaths are the film's calling card. Victims suffocated by snails, attacked by visions, and destroyed in ways that feel like waking nightmares. Fulci's flair for turning dream logic into horror is on full display, creating scenes that linger long after the credits roll. What makes Enigma stand out is its attempt to fuse Italian horror excess with American-style settings. While sometimes uneven, it captures that unmistakable Fulci energy. Stylish, gory, and tinged with the surreal. Though it never reached the notoriety of Fulci's earlier classics, Enigma has gained cult appreciation as a late-era gem from one of horror's most distinctive voices. It's a film that asks what happens when cruelty awakens something stronger than death, and answers with imagery only Fulci could conjure. If you love discovering forgotten horror and cult cinema, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the films time forgot. Thanks for watching, and remember, always be kind and rewind, because every movie is someone's favorite.